Okay, so hello and welcome. My name is Katie, and today I have Rob Young here. So thank you so much for coming on. We originally found each other through social media. So if you could just introduce your business and a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on, Katie. Rob Young. My business is State Line Notary, based in New York, but as the name indicates, I sit right on the state line with New York and New Jersey, so I'm dual commissioned. Been commissioned in New York for about 3 years and New Jersey for about 8 months, and growing it into a business.
And so how long have you been a notary, and then when did you decide to make it into a business?
3 years in New York. I tell the story that I got started because I got interested in doing this because I got my wife and I refinanced our own house in 2021, and it came down to closing, and I had never heard of a mobile notary before. And I said, "What attorney or title office do I have to come to get these documents signed?" They said, "No, we're sending somebody to you." So, "What do you mean you're sending somebody to me?" And gentleman came to my house with all the documents, and we sat around the table and signed, and probably took twice as long as it should have because I was just pestering him with
Oh,
questions and saying, "Hey, what is this? What do you do? What is this a business?" and that kind of thing. And down the YouTube rabbit hole after that of finding out about mobile notary and saw some of your videos from way back when
yeah.
and lots of others. And then just I said, wow, this would because I'm also a real estate investor. And I
Mhm.
said, I think this might be able to help my real estate investing. I said, I got lots of friends in this space. I could do some closings for them or whatever. So I became a mobile notary. And then it was years before I helped a friend, but love the business aspect of it. So
In general, would you say that you have a good client base for when you are doing this for notarizations or?
So it's building. As I said, I've been a notary in New York for about 3 years. I've been building it as a business for a little over two. Took a while to get my feet really wet and going and do start doing loan signings on a consistent basis. And then, so now I'm really trying to build it. So in New York, I'd say it's been a little bit more than 2 years. And New Jersey, I was already pretty established in New York at that point. So the business was already there. And I just started New Jersey. I got commissioned in November of last year, but on purpose did not take any loan signings in New Jersey because I didn't want to have to pay tax on file a return on $200 worth of revenue. Waited till January 1st and then started doing signings in New Jersey.
Okay. And so not a ton of people know about dual commission. Can you go a little bit more into that aspect of your business?
Sure. So in the rules in New York and New Jersey are that you can be dual commissioned if you have either a residence or a place of business in one of those two locations. So for me, I live in New York. As I said before, I live literally 4 minutes from the state line and just decided to New Jersey was always there. It was the county I grew up in. It was all of 4 minutes away. And I didn't have any way to legitimately claim it as I don't have a business. I didn't have a business address there or anything like that. Eventually last year, I partnered with a attorney that is working there to do his estate planning signings. And he said, you can use my address. And we've formed a partnership that I do his estate planning signings as a mobile notary. So that's how it's worked out.
That's amazing that you created that type relationship though with the law firms and the estate planning. So for estate planning, is there anything that do you like being working with investors more or working with estate planning clients more, do you think?
I have to say, real estate pays the bills
Yeah.
in my business. It's probably about 70% of my revenue income is coming from loan signings, and estate planning is probably about 20%. In terms of how much do I like it, I much prefer the estate planning
Yeah.
just because it's real estate. It's you'll get a call like an hour and a half before signing's supposed to happen and be like, hey, can you do this for us? And by the way, the docs aren't ready yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus estate planning signing is house next Thursday at 2 sound and the docs are all ready. Or so it's a much calmer aspect of notary. And I've differentiated myself in that area that my pitch to attorneys is I take care of all the witnesses. So they really like that I'm able to get the witnesses. And a lot of the attorneys that I work with are solopreneur attorneys that may or may not even have a paralegal or a secretary in the office with them. They might be remote. So the fact that I can bring the witnesses with me, it's my value add to a lot of attorneys.
Yeah, because that has always been an aspect of like when you get the signings out, where it'll say if you need a witness or not. So that has always been like a random scramble. But yeah, so if there's anyone that's out there that's watching this for the marketing aspect of it, sometimes if you get the clients to provide their own witnesses, they provide bias witnesses. So it could be someone that
Right.
Let's say it's a will and it's, oh yeah, it's the mom and the dad that are making the will and the beneficiary is the son. The son is witnessing. And that is, you can't
Yeah.
do that. You can't do that.
No.
So if you provide your own, that's a huge value add because then they don't have to redraw and redo everything because, you've provided that. Do you have, when you said that you have a pitch, so can we go a little bit into how you market your business?
My main areas of marketing, I network like crazy. It seems like I network nonstop. I'm in three, yeah, I'm in three networking groups, morning style breakfast networking groups that you go around and you do your 30 to 60-second commercial type of thing. And within those networks, I'm building a lot of connections. And then outside of those networks, I do a lot of evening events. It seems like I'm doing probably at least two evening events a week
Yeah.
where I'm just going and they're just not specifically targeted networking events, but there's like a chamber of chambers type organization in New Jersey that I can go and go to their events and you'll meet lots of different people there. So that's most of how I market is face to face, is meeting people, shaking their hand and saying, this is who, this is who I am, this is what I can do. And then I also have other networking groups, people that I've been introduced to that are just super connectors and have put me in touch with multiple estate planning attorneys, title folks, and stuff like that. And then lastly, like referrals. Hey, this person did my closing or whatever. I actually got connected with one estate planning attorney who's out of New York City, but her father-in-law lives in my county in New York and needed his will signed.
Mhm.
And she had drawn it up and her husband called me and said, hey, can you do this? We've got professionally drawn up documents, but we need this. And I came and I brought the witnesses and I knew who she had said, oh, my wife's an estate planning attorney, or he had said, my wife's an estate planning attorney. Did the signing and we connected after that. And she was like, I really like the way you handled yourself. You brought the witnesses. And that's being able to have people see you in action type of thing is always a big help. And yeah, because for me, relationships are a one-to-one. I love one-to-one or two-to-one or small groups, something like that. I find myself lost in large crowds like that, but
Yeah.
networking comes down to just a personal relationship and a business relationship you have with people and works out great.
Yeah. I mean, I've been networking my heart out since I started doing this, so I definitely
Yeah.
advocate for that as well. Is there any specific types of networking events that you try and look out for, or is it basically like a mixed bag where you'll go to any event that you can find?
There's so many pulls on your time. Eventually, you have to do the job that you're out there doing all the networking for.
Mhm.
So I try to I keep my three breakfast meetings, and then sometimes I'll visit various other people's chapters of their networking group or whatever. But yeah, just really just a lot of just personal connection type of networking that I try to get into.
Yeah, because I think one of the aspects that people forget is that after you go to the networking is when you have to follow up with the individuals. Because
Hmm.
I have people that are like, I went to a networking event and nothing ever happened. And I'm like, okay, how many conversations did you have after that? And she's like, none. And I'm like, you
I
gotta talk to them afterwards.
I have literal stacks and stacks of business cards on my desk of various networking events. And I try to get back to people. That's definitely something that I struggle with and I'm working on is the
I do
follow up.
too. I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just at a networking event last week and this guy I talked about, he's a super connector. I got introduced to him by another person that I know.
Mhm.
And she said, work with him, he'll change your life. And he's just a connector and he holds these golf outings. And he goes, it's not about the golf. And I said, good, because I don't know how to play golf.
Yeah.
He said, you're fine. Don't trust me. He goes, just go out there, have fun, have conversations. And then everybody plays like a quick 9 rounds of golf. And then you come back in and he makes everybody turn off their phones. And
Mhm.
he goes, everybody's going to be present for the next hour and a half and go around the room. Everybody gives a 30 to 60 second, who I am. And this is what my business is. And then he makes sure that everybody has everybody else's business card at the end of it. And the whole point is just, hey, go out and have those conversations now and follow up. So I try to talk to everybody. I target obviously the title folks and the real estate attorneys and the estate planning attorneys first. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's all about relationships.
Yeah. I agree. And then my next question is, and if you're not okay with sharing it, that's fine too, but do you have an estimated revenue from your business from like when you started to now?
When I started was like zero. So
Yeah. I know, I don't know why.
so
Yeah.
it went from I'm building it as a business. So the numbers are not impressive yet. I will say this. had my best month so far was like $3,000. My goal is by the end of the year to get that to seven
Okay.
a month.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all the things that I can to make that happen. And it's
Mhm.
just a matter of, like I said, building those relationships. So for me, it's not full-time income yet, for
Yeah.
sure. I love doing it though. Honestly, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. I really, it's the chance thing. I was like, somebody asked me, like, what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't had that closing and met this person? I said, I have no idea
Yeah.
because I was very much a corporate burnout. I did my 20 years in corporate America and would never ever want to go back. Yeah,
No.
so this is just yeah, so I just for me it's taking the steps, building the doing all the right steps, doing the follow-ups, getting on the getting going to those networking meetings and then just at the same time doing a good job and all the other hats that solopreneurs wear, the social media hat, the billing hat, and all that kind of stuff. I try to stay very heavily involved with asking for reviews and I've done a pretty good job, I think, of collecting them so far
Yeah.
and getting, and because that's driving my Google business page reviews are driving when people are searching notary near me and
Hmm.
all of a sudden that comes up and, oh, you were really well reviewed. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And also, surprising, I get a lot of business from out of state. You find like a Florida attorney or whatever that's just looking for a local notary and call. I
Yeah.
pop up first, so they call me, and that's a new lead for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, because like I've been on my Google My Business train for however long. You guys need to get this set up because I have been doing all of the research for it, and it's 62% of people don't even click through to the website. They just choose the top person, call, and then go through. So if you aren't ranking,
Yeah,
it does make a difference.
my Google business page got delisted 6 months ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And I immediately appealed it, and it was the quietest week that I've had in forever. The phones just stopped ringing,
Yeah.
which was eerie. And
Yeah.
I was looking for alternatives after that to grow my business in other ways because I don't heavily rely on general notary work,
Yeah.
but it's there and it certainly is a nice addition to the other stuff that I do. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
a quiet week.
Like my story is I had 5 different jobs before this. It was like a lot of different things, a lot of moving parts. It was not that fun. But after I had finally quit my last job, it was just, I was like, okay, I'm making enough to replace this. I'm losing out by not having the flexibility and the availability. So I quit my last office job where I had to be there. It wasn't flexible. And then for the next 2 weeks, there was like nothing on the board as far as work for me. And I was like, I made a terrible mistake.
Yeah,
And so I just had to throw myself into doing the marketing and doing the relationships. And then obviously it built back up. But
yeah.
I was right there with you. I was like, oh no, what do I do now? Yeah.
I'm starting to notice like cycles, and for me, it always seems to get quiet like the first week of the month, and then it picks back up, and then the end of the month is insane,
Yeah.
which is nice to have a little break because I'm able to do things like this and catch up on the books and stuff like that, and some
Mm.
of the other things that I need to do, but also do fun stuff like being interviewed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just yeah, I'm starting to notice like patterns, and so it's just it's evolving.
Yeah, definitely. And so you have been, and thank you for coming on for the interview. Have you been seeing any benefit from doing social media marketing so far?
So I've not seen anybody that has been like, "Oh wow, I saw your social media and I just had to use you as a notary." I think it's there. It helps keep the word out. I'm in enough local networking groups that when somebody puts on Facebook on one of the local mommy groups or whatever, they say, "Hey, I need a notary," or one of the community groups, "I need a notary." I've got 3 or 4 people that are putting my name in there for me, so that it helps from that aspect that they can look at my Facebook page, my Instagram pages, and see that, all right, these are definitely being regularly updated. I've also started for the longest time, I avoided posting on LinkedIn, and I've started recently. And I'm noticing because I'm like, all right, that's foolish to be ignoring the actual business people that are probably the ones you want to attract. I've really started on doing more on LinkedIn, which I think is helping my credibility there because it's one of the first things you do. You meet somebody and on a business sense, when it's business to business, and you go and you find their LinkedIn and you connect with them there. I
Mm.
think from that aspect, it helps build credibility that you see it's like, all right, this is an active person that's actively trying to build this business.
Yeah.
And this is somebody I might want to use. So,
It really does make a difference because from a hire other notaries and I work with other notaries as well. So as I'm looking through, if it's on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and it's just crickets, like I move on to the next person. So it does make a difference when you're using social media to decide if you want to work with that person or not to post regularly. Yeah, I definitely think
Yeah, that's
there's
it's
benefit.
I see a lot. I noticed that like the phone rings more often when I post on my Google business page. Like all of a sudden,
Mhm.
like 2 days afterwards, my phone's ringing a little bit
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
I don't take too many. Like I said, general notary work is probably only about 10% of my business, but it's there and it's a great way to market and network because you never know who you're signing for. That might be somebody that knows or knows somebody who owns a title company or something like
Mhm.
that, which would be a great referral.
I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. If you could plug all of your social media and then how to find you, how to work with you, how to get in contact with you.
I am Rob Young as State Line Notary. I am commissioned in New York and New Jersey. So if you are in Rockland County, Westchester County in New York, or Bergen County or Passaic County in New Jersey, I can certainly help you. And then social media is State Line Notary on Instagram. And you can reach out, State Line Notary, also www.statelinenotary for website and phone numbers and everything are attached to those profiles. So be happy to help anybody.
Perfect. Thanks so much for connecting and thank you so much for
Thank,
watching.
thank you, Katie.